we're pure energy. You know,
Yeah.
Einstein was doing so much work on this toward the end of his life, you know, and proving that we were,
Yeah.
and proving that all living creatures are. I mean, my goodness, we just recently discovered that trees talk to each other.
They do.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought? I mean, yes, if the trees are alive, they're living plants, you know,
Yeah.
but they talk to each other.
They do. Yeah.
And I mean, we just recently found that out. We didn't know that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's amazing stuff that we're finding out, that we're all connected, that we're all communicating in one form or another, whether we can hear it here or
Mhm.
we hear it here.
Mhm.
We are connecting.
We're connecting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Namaste, sweet souls. My name is Shilpa, and you're listening to the Omni Mindfulness Podcast. I am a mindset and meditation coach for professional women and mompreneurs. The purpose of this show is to offer stories and content that allows you to increase your awareness of your authentic self and be inspired by connecting to the personal and professional stories of other souls. Souls who are walking the walk and living everyday human experiences with inspired intentions. These are the stories that will expand your consciousness and spark within you to ask, what if? Each season, I offer content to help you create a holistic lifestyle that embodies spirituality, mindfulness, mindset, and energy awareness. Through my conversations with experts in their niche area and solo casts from yours truly, my intention is to help you holistically revitalize, reset, and relax your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host and founder of Omni Mindfulness. So ask yourself, what if just one story could be the catalyst to shift the trajectory of my life? What if I become instrumental in serving other souls to realize their true self? And what if my soul's higher purpose is in the realization of Omni Mindfulness joy? It's never too late to rewrite your story. And now, today's episode. Welcome back, sweet souls. This is your host, Shilpa. I wanted to share some exciting news about a little challenge I'm running as I'm trying to get more people to discover this podcast and the conversations that inspire those who value personal growth. And the best way to do that is to leave reviews. You can leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. So my request to you is to leave a review if you feel that you've received any value at all from these episodes of Omni Mindfulness. It would mean so much to me if you could write a little review regarding any episode that resonated with you. Please take a screenshot of that review and email it to me at omnimindfulness@gmail.com. In return, I will offer you my one-page guide to spark your meditation practice through Sankalpa. Sankalpa is a Sanskrit word for intention setting. Along with this, you'll receive a link to my guided meditation that will guide you through an intention setting meditation, positive affirmations, which you can practice daily. I guarantee that this gift will help you start a daily intention setting practice with a spark. It is my gift for you for being a listener, being a supporter, and of course, to enable you to manifest the best meditation practice. We are now in the season of reflections, which is my 4th podcast season, highlighting spirituality, mindfulness, energy awareness, and mindset. Next up is Kari Hendler. Kari is a California native who spent 35 years working in the sitcom television world, primarily as a script supervisor. She's worked on some legendary TV shows, including Hot in Cleveland, Frasier, Reba, The Golden Girls, Roseanne, and Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, which starred a young and then unknown Ryan Reynolds. When she wasn't on a Hollywood soundstage, Kari worked at her second career as a photographer and magazine writer. In that arena, she's especially known for photographing magicians and live events for various publications and writing articles about Tiki and Hawaiian culture. For 9 years, she was a writer, photographer, and an assistant editor of the popular subculture Tiki Magazine. And she has been a staff photographer for both Genii and Magic magazine for almost 20 years. In fact, her love of the art of magic motivated her to create an ongoing magic art history project called Nothing Up Their Sleeves, where she has cast the hands of some of the greatest magicians of our time, with the hope that this still growing collection will eventually find a permanent exhibition space where it might inspire future magicians and magic fans. Her other areas of passionate enthusiasm include Disneyland. She's a former Disneyland cast member and Disney's Imagineering history. She loves great architecture and the science surrounding environmental protection and preservation. One of her favorite mottos is, "The ultimate fan transcends fandom and does it herself," which is a phrase she uses to explain why she actively participates in many of the things that interest her. Kari's feelings is, if you're really a fan of something, try going beyond just being a fan and actually getting involved in it. Learn about it and try to add your own special abilities to that thing you love by creating something in that area. This mantra of hers makes for a full life, too full at times, which is why mindfulness and meditation has been something Kari has been learning about and practicing in recent years. And now, here's my friend Kari.
You were talking earlier about meditating, and then you're thinking about, oh, do I need to buy more of this? Do I need to talk to that person or that? That's the monkey mind. And so
Yes.
think of it like,
I forgot about that phrase, monkey mind. That's one of my favorites.
yeah, the monkey mind. Well, our monkey minds, we also walk around monkeys in our lives. Remember you were saying maybe in a very beautiful industry where you're trying to make people laugh, but you may be around some unpleasant people as well. However, I've heard that expression, you can't see the light if you don't see the darkness. There's a black drop,
Yes, there is. And you just talked about a monkey, so there's an animal, and that reminded me one of the things, and I'm going to sound like such a girl here, and I apologize but I am one. One of the creatures that has taught me most about mindfulness is the cat that my boyfriend and I have. Our little calico Roca, and her name is Roca, and we take her out several times a day, but she and I, we love to take our morning walks together. She likes to walk around the side of the house and out, through the bushes on the side of the street. And yes, I have eagle eyes. I'm keeping on her because we do have coyotes out here, but we're right next to her the whole time. And if there's one thing I've learned, I have not seen a more mindful creature in my life than my cat, because, and this is something I've learned so much from her, because she gets up in the morning and she stretches and she breathes and she comes up to you and she'll breathe you in. She'll come up right up to your face and breathe you in. And then when she takes her walk, she eats slowly. She savors it. When we take our walks, she stops and smells every plant. She notices every bird and butterfly. And that's the kind of thing I think, well, God, she's got it down. My cat knows more about mindfulness than any human that I have encountered until recently, and we can learn a lot from our pets sometimes, and see that because if anybody's in the moment, it's our pets. And also, they're not thinking about what they need to do.
I've learned, I have to close the window real quick.
Why, is the leaf blower guy coming your way too?
Yes, absolutely. The same guy. What I was going to say is my son, and I named my business after him, by the way, Omni Mindfulness.
Yes.
Ever since he was a really, barely still in his diapers, he goes to the backyard or front yard, picks up a dandelion and hands it to me. Not to Rich, not to anybody else. He'll just hand it to me, or sometimes he'll blow on it. I'm like, at the time, it was barely 2.5. I'm like, how do you know? And it became something for me because while I teach and practice mindfulness, I'm terrible at it. And so I'm constantly having to remind myself, slow down, don't multitask. But ever since he's done that, since he's been a baby, I'll be like, okay, zero in on this little dandelion. He's actually plucked it and given it to me. And he is so mindfully just present with this little flower.
Mm-hmm.
He's got razor vision. If he sees one, he'll like give it to me. So it teaches you like that's what's more important.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how is well, you said that because of your background,
Yeah.
that you got into meditation and all this way earlier than most other people do, because it's part of your heritage, it's part of your culture.
Yeah.
But what have you noticed for yourself ever since you started practicing more and being more aware and taking the time? How has your life improved? How has it changed? What differences have you noticed in your daily life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more equanimity inside of me. And I feel more centered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm extremely focused. And sometimes that is a counter, because then you get so focused out of the moment because thinking not about the breath, but something you're doing, right? There are these qualities I'm developing, and I take conscious moments where, because if I do something that I feel like I didn't handle it well or could have approached it differently, from month to month or year to year, I reflect like, well, a year ago this time this happened, and how did my monkey mind handle it?
That's true.
Because sometimes we dwell, and then you want to hand a banana to the monkey and say, just go away with the banana, and it comes back. And they're like, well, the banana's rotten now. I need They want to play games with you, but that mind part is one of it, okay? And I feel like there's subtle improvements. And another facet of it is also just being able to be optimistic, having the ability to see the bigger picture, and feeling compassion for myself and others. I remember a few days ago, I was having this dialogue with myself. I'm like, I'm going to give myself some grace, because I'm always trying to get too many things done. And sometimes it can get overwhelming. And then I find myself not breathing.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I'll feel the tightness. I'll be like, okay, I need to be consciously aware of the fact that I have not tried to take a real deep breath in several minutes. So it's a variety of things. I would say more mindset. Some of it is more spiritual or heart-centered awareness. I'm getting more heart-centered. That's another one. I feel like because I was in corporate, and some of it's also cultural. I come from a patriarchal culture. Like there were certain things and certain battles I had to fight to become independent. I'm married to a white guy. My parents didn't. I had to fight for everything I needed. And I felt like at some point it shut down my heart. And I'm beginning to tap into my heart a little bit more. Your heart is stronger magnetically than even your brain. It's got its own energy.
Oh, yeah.
Its own intelligence. It's the first thing that starts growing when you're still inside of your mom.
I didn't know that. Oh, no, of course. Yeah, because they listen for the heartbeat, of course. Yeah. Wow. Well, I know that for me, like I said, I really feel like especially the last 10 years of my life, past 10 years, I should say, better use of the word, have gone by extremely quickly, but some big momentous things happened in these past 10 years. And the one thing that learning how to be mindful, practicing mindfulness doing the breathing exercises, all that other stuff. The thing that I have found that it's done for me is it actually feels like it's slowing time down a bit.
I totally agree.
You know, because that was the thing. It was like, my God, it just felt like, you know, I mean, when things like that happened 10 years ago feel like they only happened maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And you can't believe it's been a decade. But being mindful, it does seem, feels like it gives you more time in the day. And it does feel like it slows things down because you're taking the time to remember and appreciate the moments. So it just doesn't become this blur. Your day isn't just this blur of running errands and, you know, and answering phones and, doing the big old grown-up stuff every day. It does feel like if you sit there and even like, let's say you've got 6 errands you need to run, you've got to go to work, and then you've got to, you've got to go to the grocery store, and you have to go to the bank and the post office and the dry cleaners. And by the way, I'm just listed off a bunch of stuff that I have to do when we're done with this podcast, because I've got a meeting later this afternoon with my architect for my apartment. And I realized I need to go to the bank and the post office and the market and pick up groceries and all this other stuff. And I need to do my laundry. But if I sit there and I go, right now, here in this moment, this is where I am. Yeah. I am with you. Yes. It's you and me. I'm by the ocean. You're in your office, surrounded by beautiful trees on the outside, all this other stuff. And right now, I'm going to be very much here. And when we're done, then I'm going to sit there and say, okay, now I need to do this thing. And I'm going to be very much there. And then it doesn't mean that you don't get all your stuff done. It just means don't turn your life and your day into this big blur where at the end of the day, you're about to get ready to go to bed and you sit there and go, I didn't do anything. What was today? What a totally wasted day. I just did these errand things and I didn't get anything out of it. Well, I think it's important that we sit there and be in the, if we are present in the moment of wherever we are or whatever it is, and just really appreciate whatever it is that we're experiencing. The fact that you've got a nice market to go into that's got a lot of produce that you can buy. Places don't have that in the world. That you have a friend who wants to talk to you, that that you've got all these opportunities and abilities that a lot of people in the world don't have.
You asked me earlier, what have I learned? How has it shifted me or helped me? Time slowing down has been something that, if there was a graph, the more I've been meditating and becoming more, I would say, spiritually grounded, the feeling of time standing still or slowing down has increased. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And I also, when you were saying, the errands, then again, I'm guilty of this. I'll be going from one to the other, telling Omni, hurry up and get in the car. And, but when you think of each activity as a meditation, that changes the nature of what you're doing. Like, what if you're touching an orange and you're going, wow, it's a beautiful, vibrant orange color, and I smell it. I appreciate this moment.
Mm-hmm. And once again, it's not like it's going to take you any more time. Pay attention to that orange that you're about to consume, or if you didn't. I think that's a really important key, because once again, everybody thinks that in order to do this, in order to incorporate being mindful in their lives or meditating, that, oh my God, I don't have time for it. And it doesn't, honestly, you pick up an orange and you're going to cut it open and eat it, thinking about what you're doing, thinking about that, the smell and the look and what it tastes like and what it looks like. It takes the same amount of time, whether you are thinking about it or being appreciative of it. as not. It doesn't take up any more time to do that than if you didn't do that. You're still going to be standing there, still the time it takes to pick up an orange and take a knife and cut it open takes the same amount of time. But instead of thinking about what you have to do next or what somebody said to you yesterday or whatever, you're being in that moment. And I know we're talking about an orange, but that's the sort of practice that I'm talking about when people want to get into this. And then they ask me too, well, how do you do it? And I say, start with everyday things.
Yeah.
It's not this super magical, all the planets have to be in alignment and everything has to be perfect. Start with the ordinary everyday things. Start with the moment that your eyes open up when you wake up in the morning and you take that first deep breath.
Yeah.
Start with the piece of toast that you're smelling that's coming out of the toaster in the morning, or, whatever it is. Start with the everyday and the ordinary, and everything becomes much more rich and wonderful. And it does feel like things slow down a bit. And I think we need that. And I think, like I said, we said in the beginning of this conversation, the pandemic forced us in many ways to do that. And it hasn't been a bad thing. I mean, I think for people who are just, who need constant distractions in their life, who go from one party to the other and have to be that because they don't want to think about anything more than that, it was very difficult. But I think for those of us who needed to take the time and take some deep breaths and to really look at where we are in our lives right now and what we want for ourselves, for whatever time we have left, I think it was an absolute godsend. And I, of course, once again, I'm saying this because, I didn't pass away from COVID. I didn't have any close family members who did. I was already at the point in my career where I was getting pretty close to retiring from television anyway. It just sped things up a little bit for me. My mother did get COVID. She got long COVID, and that was kind of the determining factor for me, whether I was going to go back full time into the television business or not. And I decided I want to spend this time with my mom and my boyfriend and my friends and the people I love. And it was only about 5 years sooner than I had planned to probably retire from television anyhow. So in a way, once again, you can sit there and go, oh man, I lost out on those 5 years. I could have been making more sitcoms. Yeah. And at the same time, it was like, but no. You're getting to do something really, really precious and special by spending more time with these people you love, because there's always going to be another show. And I'm just having so much fun spending this extra time with her, because I did get my dad taken away earlier. And I made a vow to myself when that happened, when I was much younger, that should the time come when my mom was getting older, that I was going to do everything possible to spend as much time with her as possible. And that's what COVID, that was one of the gifts that COVID gave to me. Once again, where you heard something that looks like a horrible thing and you say, and I don't mean to be redundant, but it is that thing about sitting here going, oh, this is not a good situation. This is not a happy situation, but hold on, there's got to be gifts in here somewhere. There's got to be something, and you find it. And like I said, you won't find it in the exact moment it's happening, but you'll find it when you step back and have a little more perspective and you go, oh no, but I learned this from it. I got this from it. This wouldn't have happened if that not so happy thing had happened. Yeah.
Now, and imagine if you practice that daily, what that will do for many instances of your life. Maybe it will remap the course of your life, because now you've changed your habits and your attitudes and your behaviors.
When you say attitudes and behaviors, you've changed your mindset.
Exactly.
So you've changed your mindset, and when you change your mindset, and once again, these catchphrases, I sound very new agey, and I don't mean to, but they're not wrong. It's not like you can't say these things don't exist, but you change your frequency, you change of yourself that you're putting out there. You're sending out a different frequency, and therefore you're going to get back more of the positive.
Yeah, and you start attracting it. I said thoughts are powerful.
Yes. Well, what is it that the thoughts become things?
Thoughts,
So think good ones.
yeah.
And it doesn't mean we go around every second of every day. It's not like some sort of, blissed out, everything is wonderful, because not everything is wonderful. And there are times that are truly challenging and moments that are challenging. And once again, it's like, but how are you going to deal with it? If you're going to, the best example I can also give on this is, the person who, wakes up in the morning and somewhere in the process of the morning, they stub their toe and it hurts, right? It hurts. And they're sitting there and they feel the pain and they're hurting. And this is why this is a lousy way to start my day. And I've stubbed my toe and it hurts. And they carry that energy, even though their toe may stop hurting as much, but it started their day out wrong.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the day, they're putting out that thing, and more of that bad stuff was just going to come to them because they're putting out that frequency that they had a lousy morning and bad thing happened to them, and only bad things happened to them, and this shouldn't have happened to them. And even when I say that, you notice the look on my face, my brow furrows, and you get more strident. And instead, and I'm not saying, once again, if you stub your toe, you should go, oh, how wonderful, I stubbed my toe. Well, that's stupid. But you sit there and you go, ow, this hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to put some ice on it? Okay, I stubbed my toe. It's not broken. I didn't break my ankle. I didn't break my leg. I can still walk on my foot. This will be over with soon. The pain will subside. Yeah. And meanwhile, I have a job to go to. Yeah. I have a paying job to go to, or I'm meeting a friend for lunch. How lucky am I? Or I've got these other things, and the toe is incidental.
Yeah.
That's not going to change your whole day. So instead you sit there and go, okay, I stubbed my toe, but it's not broken.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be more careful about that piece of furniture that's sitting there. Maybe I need to move it back, so I don't trip over it again, or maybe, whatever it is. But if you just turn around and say, with this expression, when somebody says, could be worse, could be raining, it's just turn it around. Just, I used to work at Disneyland a long time ago as a cast member, and we were trained in, believe it or not, in all sorts of psychology things, because you would have people, you think it's the happiest place on earth, right?
Yeah.
And was supposed to be the happiest place on earth for the people who visit there. And because that was what we wanted to give them. They're paying this money to come into this place that's a fantasy place. But you'd get parents who were hot and exhausted, or maybe their kids were acting up, or the line was too long for the ride, or, that whatever it was, or this was costing them a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they weren't having a good time. Yeah. And it was our job at that point as cast members, when we encountered them, to change things around for them, to try and lighten up the moment for them, not by poking fun at them or making jokes, but listening to them, what was going on. I did magic, performed magic in the Main Street Magic Shop for years. And so I was entertaining people, and people come in and be like, oh, so it's a magic shop, you know any tricks or whatever. And I would, within minutes of talking to them, ask them how their day was going, what did they like, what was it? Oh, well, the line for this was too long or whatever. And I would sit there and suggest, hey, there's this place in the park I love where there are very few people that go there. It's a great place to go get an ice cream and sit, and it's super peaceful, or do that or whatever. You could see immediately their face beginning to lift, and then you do a magic trick for them and they kind of go, wow, and you'd see, and all of a sudden this heaviness of their day or whatever was going on, that it wasn't so fun, suddenly they'd have the experience that somebody listened to them. Somebody paid attention to them, and somebody said, no, there's more than whatever you're experiencing. There's more. There is something wonderful here.
I love the way
let me show you.
I just love the fact that you said just to listen. Because that's one of the things that I think a lot of us, and that's one of the reasons I wanted the podcast, is the ability to listen to others, because there's so much that each of us have gifts with.
Yes, didn't realize it until I started to learn about mindfulness in the last couple of years and meditation. I didn't realize how much I had actually learned from my maternal grandmother, who I was very, very close to, who was, I would say, a real way ahead of her time. She was a great believer in the teachings of a man named Ernest Holmes, who created the Science of Mind program, which was daily meditations that you would read that kind of get your mindset ready for the day and let you think about things. And when I think about it now, my grandmother was the most mindful person I've ever met. And she had this ability to generate a frequency within her and put it out to other people and then reap all the rewards of that.
Yeah.
And for example, we would just, even when I was a little kid and we'd go run her errands that she needed to do that day, which was, usually going to the supermarket or something. You know what it's like to stand in the supermarket and the checker is just checking out your stuff and you really don't have any interaction with them. And they look, just stone faced. They don't want to be there particularly. It's not the most scintillating job that they've ever had in their life, I'm sure. But there they are and there you are. And my grandmother would I could see her eyes making a connection with looking at the person and finding something, some reason to make a connection with somebody, even somebody like, just the person who was checking us out at the grocery store. And I remember, and it was never fake, it was never false, but she would maybe notice that the scarf, maybe the person was wearing a pretty scarf that brought out the color of that person's eyes. And my grandmother always would say something like, "Oh, that scarf is lovely. And it really brings out the color of your eyes. You have eyes like the most blue eyes. They're like the color of the ocean." And you would see that person suddenly their body language go from like, "Oh, I'm doing my job," to suddenly like, "Oh my gosh, somebody noticed me.
Yeah.
Somebody said something nice about me." And then you could actually feel that person's energy change. You'd see their body language change. You'd see suddenly it's like, "I have beautiful eyes. This person thought I had beautiful eyes," or even it would be some things like, they have lovely, elegant hands, or they have a lovely speaking voice, or a beautiful smile. And it was never fake, but you would see that. And you think, why is my grandmother doing this for this other person? Because she wanted to see their frequency change. She wanted to see them feel better. Then the next person they were checking out, they would get those positive vibrations from that person. Absolutely. And it would just go on and on and on. And I think, once again, it doesn't mean you have to go around like, and be complimenting every person that you see or something, because you would end up being sort of like the weird person, in the town. But I think take that moment. If you're seeing that somebody is just, find that moment of a little bit of connection with them, that little bit of human connection, and say something nice. Yeah. Even if it's something as simple as, I thank you, for checking me out. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day. I hope you have a lovely day, or something like that.
I feel like it's like a bunch of cells and, like little atoms, and you're at a certain level, and then you touch another one, they start vibrating, and pretty soon it's spreading this vibration.
It spreads like a virus, but a good virus.
A good one.
But a good one, unlike the one that we've. Yeah, but yeah, that's, and I think once again, I mean, it's all part of the mindfulness, meditation, frequency, all of that stuff. It really is all part of the same family of meditation, I suppose, or being human. And I just love the fact that we're at a time now in history, and even though crazy things are happening, there's the war in Ukraine and recessions and all that other stuff that we've got going on. And by the way, those things have been going on since we fell out of the trees millions of years ago. All of that stuff.
It's a cycle. It just goes on.
But the fact that we are aware now that there is this thing called mindfulness, that there is meditation, that people are aware of the frequency that we generate as human beings, as all living things generate, put out there, and that we've suddenly become very aware and know that there's actually scientific, basis for a lot of these things.
And it is like the mind itself, aside from our heart, and the heart has its own intelligence.
Right.
Recognizing that each of those things are part of an integration, not like outside, like, oh, I'll deal with my mind later and my heart later. How about being fully embodied and maybe even challenging what you're thinking of yourself? Am I just this human body and flesh? Or maybe I'm more than that.
Yeah. Oh, we're like I said, as I said earlier, we're pure energy. You know,
Yeah.
Einstein was doing so much work on this toward the end of his life, you know, and proving that we were,
Yeah.
and proving that all living creatures are. I mean, my goodness, we just recently discovered that trees talk to each other. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought? I mean, yes, the trees are alive, they're living plants, you know,
Yeah.
but they talk to each other.
They do, yeah.
And I mean, we just recently found that out. We didn't know that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's amazing stuff that we're finding out, that we're all connected, that we're all communicating in one form or another, whether we can hear it here or we hear it here.
Mm-hmm.
We are connecting.
We're connecting, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many things you've said. I'm going to have you back on another podcast. I could talk to you for another hour.
Well, you're gonna have a lot of editing to do on this one. I'm sorry about that because of the connection here with the ocean.
It's okay. I think there's like 3 spots through it, but you definitely have to come back. Thank you.
I would love that very, very much, because I think this is a fascinating concept. Not concept. It's more than a concept, but I think it's a fascinating subject. And I think the best thing about all of this, I think about putting this out in the world and letting people hear more about it, is you don't know what point in their lives that they're going to watch this or get this information. But I can tell you from personal experience that everybody who has taken the time to learn how to be more mindful, to have more gratitude in their life, to understand their own personal frequency and how you can use your own personal frequency. There's not a single person who said that it has done bad things for them. Just the opposite. Absolutely. And so that's why I think it's important to continue to share these ideas, because it might just be that one little thing, that one sentence that you or I said, that becomes that thing that goes click with them. That they go, you know, oh, that phrase. You know, I have I think on my bio I put the phrase that the ultimate fan transcends fandom and does it herself. Yeah. And that's, you know, once again, you're doing that, I'm doing that. If you're interested in something, go beyond just hearing the words, learn about it, do it, put it out there, do something creative with it. Yeah. And just watch so many things change in your life for the better because of it.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. That's why I definitely need you back.
Yeah. I think it's great. I'm glad that you did it. And I'm really thrilled that you asked me to come on and chat with you today. And I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description, and please subscribe, follow, and share, and continue to practice Omni Mindfulness.